No stars, no budget, no problem. The dark horses of the 24-25 season. Sergio Canales, Nabil Fekir, Andrés Guardado, Joaquín. All the icons from Manuel Pellegrini's Betis era are now history. And yet, the Heliopolitans, despite having one of the most modest budgets in the league, remain, as always, near the top of the league. But let's not make the mistake of normalizing it because just it happens every year. On the contrary, what the Andalusian club is doing is truly remarkable. Everything pointed to this being the season when the Chilean coach finally ran out of ideas. His team had reached its limit. By match day 23, Real Betis was in 11th place in the league. But everything changed thanks to the unlikeliest of players. On January 25th, they secured the loan of Antony. Yes, the one Manchester United was desperately trying to get rid of. And why wouldn't they? The Brazilian had just 4 goals and 2 assists across his last 2 seasons with United. What could a washed-up player like that possibly offer Betis? Well, apparently quite a lot. Much more than Antony or his family could have ever dreamed. In his short time in green and white, he's already racked up 5 assists and 8 goals. But wait, what kind of goals? The Brazilian has completely revived the Seville-based team, which is now just 1 point away from securing a Champions League spot. Something that's only happened once in Betis history, exactly 20 years ago. And speaking of history, this 2025 Betis side has reached a European final for the first time ever. And even if it's only the Conference League, it feels like pure glory for them. Bodø/Glimt isn't just a club with 2 names. It's a successful 2-name club playing in Norway. And not just anywhere in Norway either, but way up in the country's far north, tucked inside in the harsh Arctic Circle. And what's the problem with playing in the Arctic Circle? Well, it's not exactly easy to combine these sun-level players to move up to the freezing north of Norway. Still, Bodø Glimt has managed to rewrite its underwhelming history in recent years. This is a club that was in the 2nd division in 2017, won its first ever league title in 2020, and has since gone on to win 4 of the last 5 Norwegian league titles. Impressive, but they're not showing up on Barak fever because of that. They're here because of what they've done in this season's Europa League, knocking out the likes of Porto, Olympiacos, and Lazio to reach the semi-finals. No Norwegian club has ever gone this far in any major competition. Sure, Apoel from Cyprus or Sheriff Tiraspol from Moldova have achieved similar feats in the 21st century, but they did it with 10 or 11 foreign players on the pitch. Bodø Glimt, on the other hand, fields only Norwegian players. Except for the goalkeeper, he's Russian, and a couple of adventurous Danes. Don't expect players from other nationalities to sign up for a life where July, averaging 14 Celsius or 57 Fahrenheit, is the warmest month of the year. Before Gianpiero Gasperini, Atalanta had never finished even in the top 5 of Serie A in its long history. Since Gasperini's arrival, La Dea has been a top 5 team every single season, as if it's just part of their identity now. And although Atalanta no longer shocks anyone with their miracle working coach, who loses stars every year but still manages to maintain elite standards, It would have been a huge mistake to leave them off this list. Atalanta has no business being third in Serie A this season, yet despite losing to Young Cup Miners for 58 million, they've climbed right back up thanks to Gasperini's brilliance and their latest breakout star, because Atalanta always has one, this time named Matteo Retegui, Serie A's top scorer with 24 goals. Business as usual, third place. In 2023-2024, Brest was the surprise of Ligue 1, finishing third. This season though, they're 8th, 11 points off third. Not bad, but it's not the same. In Germany, Stuttgart shocked everyone in 2024 by finishing second. In 2025, they're mid-table, over 20 points away from they were. In Spain, Girona was last season's Cinderella, finishing third. 1 year later, they're fighting relegation, 32 points behind the team currently in third. That kind of collapse happens fast. The hardest sport in football isn't pulling off a surprise. It's maintaining it that level the next season, especially when your squad gets dismantled. That's why Bologna's 2024-25 campaign deserves recognition. Last season, they were Italy's version of Girona or Brest, finishing 5th in Serie A, qualifying for the Champions League for the first time in their history, and posting their best league result since 1971. But unlike the others, Bologna is fighting to get back there again. And that's after losing their coach, Thiago Motta, who left to sink with Juventus. And after making 100 million from selling Riccardo Calafiori to Arsenal and Joshua Zirkzee to Manchester United, they did, however, keep Riccardo Solini, the brilliant right-winger who's delivered 13 goals and 4 assists in Serie A. And most importantly, they brought in Vincenzo Italiano from Fiorentina, a highly offensive-minded coach obsessed with high-intensity football. Even though they didn't perform well in the Champions League, they reached the Coppa Italia final for the first time in 51 years. And in Serie A, they'll be fighting for a top 4 finish until the final match day. Freiburg is a humble club from Germany's Black Forest, in the country's deep south. In recent years, they've come close to qualifying for the Champions League, only to fall short in the final weeks. In 2022, they finished 6th, in 2023, 5th, and in 2024 Christian Streich final season, they dropped to 10th. But who's Christian Streich? Think of him as Freiburg's version of Sir Alex Ferguson. 29 years at the club, 16 of them coaching youth and assisting the senior team, before taking the reins in 2011. 13 incredible years later, he stepped down. In came another modest, passionate coach straight from the club's youth system, Julian Schuster. His work? Impeccable. With 1 match left in the Bundesliga, Freiburg is holding onto the final Champions League spot, ahead of Borussia Dortmund and having already knocked RB Leipzig out of contention. And they're doing it with the usual suspects: Vincenzo Grifo on the left, 8 goals and 11 assists, and Japanese winger Ritsu 9 goals and 8 assists. It's worth noting the Bundesliga this year has been questionable, if not outright pathetic. That Freiburg, currently 4th, has a negative goal differential of -2. That says it all. Yes, a team that has conceded more than it has scored is about to qualify for the Champions League for the first time in its history, unless, of course, they choke again in the final round. In 2022, Nottingham Forest finally returned to the Premier League after being relegated back in 1999. We were all thrilled to see them back, though deep down we suspected it wouldn't last long. And we weren't exactly wrong. Forest survived in the final rounds and finished 16th, just 4 points above relegation. In their second season, things got even harder. Forest avoided relegation only on the last match day, finishing 17th. Honestly, there was no reason to believe their third year in the top flight would be any different. Once again, the battle to avoid the drop was looming, and they might not get lucky this time. But none of that happened. Forest impressed from day one. They were the only team to beat Liverpool at Anfield. They beat Manchester United home and away. They embarrassed Tottenham Hotspur in both stadiums and smashed Brighton for 7 goals. So much for being a defensive team. They took down Aston Villa and Manchester City, drew with Chelsea, and didn't let Liverpool get revenge in their return fixture. As if the Premier League performance of Nuno Espirito Santos' squad wasn't impressive enough, they made it all the way to the FA Cup semi-finals. Goalkeeper Matt Sells, centre-back Murillo, midfielder Elliot Anderson and playmaker Morgan Gibbs-White have had the seasons of their lives. But veteran Chris Wood and his 20 Premier League goals, that's on another level. Even though the team has slumped a bit in recent weeks, just like Wolverhampton did under Nuno, Forest is still very much in the race for a Champions League spot. It'll be a fierce and thrilling battle down to the wire. Whatever the outcome, no one can deny Forest has had a season beyond imagination. In the last winter transfer window, Eintracht Frankfurt let go of the Bundesliga's best player halfway through the season. Omar Marmoush was leading the league in assists and breathing down Hurricane's neck in the scoring charts when the Eagles sold him to Manchester City. Why didn't Eintracht just wait until the season was over, try to qualify for the Champions League and then cash in? Because they believed they could do both, qualify without him and pocket the 80 million City paid up front before changing their minds. Stepping up was the tall, brilliant young French striker Hugo Ekitike, just like strikers always do at Eintracht. Think about Luka Jovic, Sebastian Halle, Andres Silva, Randall Colomoni, or Omar Marmoush himself. Ekitike just continued Eintracht's seemingly endless production line of top scorers. And thanks to their league performance, Eintracht qualified for the 2026 Champions League, their first league-based qualification since 1960. They had qualified in 2023, but only as a surprising Europa League champion. Inter Milan was the heavy favorite to win Serie A again. Milan and Juventus were expected to challenge for the title. Atalanta and Roma were seen as potential dark horses. But no one, absolutely no one with even basic football knowledge would have picked Napoli to win another Scudetto, or even return to the Champions League. It just didn't make sense. While Inter held onto the core of the squad that reached the 2023 Champions League final, Napoli was left with the leftovers from the magical team that won the Scudetto that same year. Players nobody wanted. The first to leave was the coach Luciano Spalletti, followed by Kim Min-jae, the cornerstone of Napoli's defense. Last year, they still had their two biggest stars, Victor Osimhen and Kvaratskhelia, but even with them, they couldn't put up much of a title defense. Napoli finished 10th in Serie A in 2024, the worst title defense in nearly 60 years. And this season looked even bleaker with Osimhen gone. But against all odds, Napoli started strong, very strong, and never lost momentum. By the halfway point, talking about a possible title challenge didn't seem so crazy anymore. And then, just as the dream was taking shape, Napoli did the unthinkable. They sold Kvaratskhelia to PSG mid-season and didn't bring a proper replacement. It was a baffling decision, a clear surrender of their title hopes. To make things worse, Buongiorno, who'd been solid at the back since arriving from Torino, got injured near the end of the campaign. And yet, Napoli sits top of the league, just a few match days away from pulling off the impossible. This madness has one name behind it: Antonio Conte. A coach who always delivers immediate results. He did it at Juventus, at Chelsea, at Inter, and now, more than ever, at a stripped-down Napoli, where he's doing the best work of his career. Conte has only two issues. He burns out quickly, usually by year 2, and he struggles when competing in Europe. But if he's focused solely on the 38-match league season, that's when he performs miracles and magic. Sure, Sambuanguisa has had a fantastic year, and Romelu Lukaku, though no longer the unstoppable goal machine he once was, contributes in every game. But the real shocker? A signing that seemed like a terrible idea has become Serie A Player of the Season. I can't believe I'm saying this, but there's no denying it. Scott McTominay, with a dozen goals and several assists, has been Napoli's most influential and decisive player, leading the charge toward their 4th Scudetto.